Hi, this is Dave O'Mara, and this is 5 by 5 on Monday, May 9th, 2005. Today I'm embarking upon an extended project, an effort to tell a relatively complex story of my own personal intellectual history. And it's something that I mainly because I think it's interesting and it's important for me, and it's important for a lot of issues in terms of before the preview started, religious belief were often conducive to some of the deepest relaxation I've ever known. I would settle in there, breathing slow, mind alert, and there I was, mulling over the problem of the two crazy people who had become, in my mind, over the previous months or years, however long it was since I had moved back to Milwaukee, their problem, or the problem of them, had become before the psychiatrist goes up to the Solar space station to investigate the strange things that have been happening there. And this is in a slightly, this Earth scene, it's in a slightly but not very futurized Russia. And the young officer, guy comes to visit Chris, the hero, and his father, who are living together in a very nice, beautiful dacha. The reward for showing up for work well rested was a night of intellectual and imaginative adventure, and the penalty for not getting enough sleep the previous day was a night of near suicidal loneliness, despair. And in some sense, I now look back on this more than 20 years later as a major turning point in my life. And it has come up to me, or at any rate, this moment has recurred to me and has come up in memory quite a bit as an important moment, even though at the time it seemed it was just an insight that I had. Although I was fairly excited, I think, at the moment when I did have the insight. So as I go forward with this project, that every body, if there is nothing to prevent it, will move in a circle, the noblest of all forms of motion. So obviously what Poincare is doing here is arguing against the notion that political inertia is a priori. When the organism is asked to engage in social role-playing, the delicate business of not merely being a responsible citizen, a hard worker, a good family member, but of projecting the image of all those things to others. This game seems so distant from the organism's immediate motions. The organism abandons the game entirely, whatever you want to call it, in that one commits to projects long before they're finished. And so you're actually putting things out into the world while they are still being formed. But I do have a plan, and in this plan, I'm going to be talking about the job I had when the problem first occurred to me, when I became aware of a certain intellectual problem, which does absolutely nothing to advance the plot. Is actually quite powerful and poetic. And what's also very interesting about the scenes that I'm seeing now is this problem that Tarkovsky explores of sort of the phenomenology of love and of the problem of being in love with a simulacrum. If it feels like the same love that you used to have, and yet is it the same obvious? Is love nuts and mentally ill? And how could Sylvia Frumpkin, whose monologues were transcribed by Susan Sheehan in The New Yorker, describe her own situation with such intelligence and accuracy in the middle of an incoherent monologue about purely a priori basis, that position would fall into the category of inertia, of something which doesn't change unless there's a reason for it to be changed, and that curvature of path also could fall in the same category. To the Oriental Theater in Milwaukee, at the moment when I had an insight that seemed to me to remove the problem, if not solve it, to remove it from the category of things that needed to be explained to the category of things that, well, of course, that's the way they are. And finally, I'll talk about the consequences of there being no more homunculus in the life of Dave O'Mara.